Hello and welcome to this episode, and in this episode we are discussing CPU limiter. So to see the options of CPU limiter, let's go to the options menu, to CPU and then CPU limiter. So CPU limiter reduces the CPU utilization of a process by constraining the sets of CPU cores available to it. Now, it's very important to note that the CPU limiter is not a magic bullet to reduce CPU utilization without consequence. CPU utilization occurs because a process is doing something, and limiting that consumption will slow or otherwise impact the process. However, in some circumstances, it is desirable to reduce a process's CPU to achieve a more fair access to system resources. And this is usually common with remote desktop services environments, and when some non-critical background processes are consuming a large share of the system resources, and in those cases the CPU limiter is a great option. Now we can create some rules using the CPU limiter. For example, we want the CPU limiter to match a process. We will create the name of the process, such as process.exe. Then, when the CPU is used above 80% for a period of 5 seconds, reduce the CPUs of this process to 2 cores for a period of 10 seconds. Now add the rule. We can read the rules once again. If process.exe consumes above more than 80% of the CPU over 5 seconds, then reduce the cores of this process by 2 cores for 10 seconds. And you have to know that the CPU limiter can dynamically reduce the CPU use of the running processes by temporarily constraining their CPU affinity. So for instance, if we have 4 CPUs on our system and we are constraining this process to 2 cores, then the total possible CPU utilization for this process will become 50%. The cores that are removed from a process's CPU affinity, they are selected randomly from the set of the original CPU affinity. And once the timer expires for the CPU limiter, the original CPU affinity is restored. We can also specify some users if they are specifically problematic. For example, we can set that process.exe, which is running by a user called Johnny. Now a specific user Johnny is specified for this rule. Or we can create some other types of regular expressions. For example, any process that starts with fire. So we put an asterisk in here, .exe. Then you can add the rules for that process. And that's it for this episode. I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to see you in the coming episodes. Stay tuned.